Close your eyes, or sit back, enjoy the night. If you're not lost in your head, you're better off dead. Out your window, head now. On the bed, we're keeping it quiet. Start the car, it's running cold. In the chair, but you're feeling old. Round the block, meet your day. Check the watch, it's a little late. That's okay. Close your eyes. Sit back, enjoy the night. If you're not lost in your head, you're better off dead. In the year, in the month, in the day, in the moment it started. Was a boy, now a man, still a kid, ignorance departed. Now I know we're just running around, pretending we got places to be. Dreams that won't come true.
Oh, every time. Can never get it right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Show. I'm your host, Greg Staley, joined by correspondent Paul Staley. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. Feels like a long time. I am exhausted. So for those who don't know, we're expecting a baby, which means that like any day now. And my wife is, we thought maybe before the show, she was having contractions 7 minutes apart and then they stopped. So she's pretty angry. But so far, so good. But yeah, I'm exhausted. She's tossing and churning a lot, and but I can't complain. You can't complain.
Yeah, you're suffering so much in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, not at all. Not at all. So thanks to everybody for joining the Sunday Show. So we're talking CFIB report, Dan Kelly of the Canadian Federation for Independent Business, talking about how many businesses are expected to go under if lockdown orders aren't extended. We also have Toronto Freedom Rally. We're going to go over some of the footage, going to go over some of the pictures there. We have the Justice Center release. No complaining allowed out of you. The wife has spoken. We'll pop that in for the record. All right. We got outdoor transmission. New York Times talking about outdoor transmission being drastically overinflated, the ideas and the estimates. So, and then Nova Scotia. Am I missing anything, Paul? Vaccination rates. We're going to compare vaccination rates based on province, based on country, and then we're going to go through that. So let's get started let's go outdoor transmission to start here. All right. So, this is the wrong one. All right. New York Times. So they released this article. A misleading CDC number. It was 5 days ago. This was released talking about outdoor transmission in particular. I say this as we come off the heels of the Toronto Freedom Rally, where there was thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands in the street. And people are, of course, saying, you're hurting people and you're selfish, on, and actually saying much worse things than that. But the benchmark seems to be a huge exaggeration, as Dr. Muj Sevic, a virologist at the University of St. Andrews, said. In truth, the share of transmission that occurred outdoors seems to be below 1% and maybe below 0.1%, multiple epidemiologists told me. So it's saying that outdoor transmission is less than 10% is akin to saying that shark attacks are fewer than 20,000 swimmers a year. The actual worldwide figure is around 150. It's both true and deceiving. So they go on to say it's estimated it could be 1% and as low as 0.1%. But basically, my basic understanding is there was a miscommunication in the data. Singapore released data, and they was interpreted as indoor transmission when it was actually construction sites that were indoor. And so the numbers were inflated, and then they use this as the driving force. And we would know once the population kind of takes hold of a narrative and runs with it, it's very hard to get people to think differently after that. So what are your takes, Paul?
Well, every time you see a video online of anti-lockdown protests, what's the first thing they say? Right? Everybody's going to get sick. No one's wearing a mask.
Yep, every time.
No one reads deeper than the headlines anymore, and those who aren't are still convinced that everything is bad. So, I mean, I've been saying it for a while now that, like, if you haven't become an avid reader of medical literature over the last year, I can't really help you. If you just want to read headlines, I can't help you. Like, if you want to hole up in your house because of that, that's fine. Do what you got to do. But we already know it's almost non-existent. And they even went on to say that the transmission was, those that did get it outdoors was like close contact with people and in crowds. So
yeah, the one was a prolonged conversation, I think they said. It was like
even
close
then it was
prolonged
still,
conversation.
Yeah, it's still like, you know what I mean? It's still, the numbers on that are still incredibly low.
Mm-hmm. And it was likely somebody with symptoms, not just asymptomatic people in the crowd. So it's so easy to just take a large number of people and then project fear from that.
It's easy to manipulate it either way, right? Like, you can just leave out that stuff you don't want to talk about. Like, they've manipulated this one by just saying, less than 10%. Why stop at 10? You know what? Let's say it's less than 100%.
Yeah, well, you could say it's less than 200%, and it's technically true, right?
It's technically true, but it's, I don't know. And then I think it's like, there's another study that came out. It was like I did the math on it, and I think it's like 19 times more probable to get transmission indoor. So,
yeah. And I mean, even then, I always like want to be guarded talking about stuff like this, because then the counter narratives jumped on. Of course, then we need the limit. It's like, no. Symptomatic transmission indoors. I think the asymptomatic thing has been blown so out of proportion. I have to remind that and massage it into the narrative every time we bring it up.
And that one genuinely bothers me, because our government has done their own studies, and they know the results of people who were healthcare workers. They know it's not a thing, but they also had mobile testing trucks driving around the GTA for asymptomatic testing. Like,
all right,
just to manipulate it, right?
Well, let's get real on the manipulation here. So this is straight out of the Justice Center, back into it. Chief microbiologist and laboratory specialist Dr. Jaylard Bullard is a witness for the Manitoba government in this hearing, questioned under oath by Justice Center lawyers on Monday, May 10th, 2021. Dr. Bullard acknowledged that the PCR test has significant limitations. The head of CADM Provincial Laboratory in Winnipeg, Dr. Bullard admitted that PCR test results do not verify infectiousness and were not intended to be used to diagnose respiratory illnesses. Sounds exactly like Kerry Moss, the creator, said, right, Paul?
That's shocking. I know.
I know. It's like I've heard this somewhere before. I don't know. Dr. Bullard testified that the PCR test can be positive for up to 100 days after an exposure to the virus. So finding old crime scenes, how long have we been talking about that? PCR tests do nothing more than confirm fragments, the presence of a virus, or fragments of viral RNA of the target SARS-CoV-2 virus in someone's nose. And we've shown the FDA documents that can pick up other bacteria and other pathogens as well. While a person with COVID-19 is infectious for a 1 to 2 week period, non-viable, harmless, virus, okay, we don't need that. Anyways, this is the part we wanted. Dr. Bullard testified, and the most accurate way to determine whether someone is actually infectious with COVID is to attempt to grow a cell culture in the lab from a patient sample. I actually made a pre-written letter for people to sign on them to change the testing method to send symptomatic positive tests back to the lab and ensure infectiousness months and months ago. If a cell culture will not grow in the virus in a lab, a patient is likely not infectious. A study from Dr. Bullard and his colleagues found that only 44% of the positive PCR test results would actually grow in the lab. Put another way, 56% of the positive tests didn't have anything that was actually infectious. They weren't harmful, didn't have anything that was going to hurt anyone. And how many people's lives are turned upside down? 56%. So if you had 100,000 people, 56,000 people aren't infectious. And by the way, those are positive tests. Doesn't mean it's actually the same people, or it doesn't mean it's different people. Rather, it could be the same person tested multiple times, which is the method that they use. So if somebody has a positive test, but maybe it's in a higher cycle threshold, like 38 to 40 is considered indeterminate in Ontario, they'll rerun that again. and then they would be 2 positives if they had it, and maybe they run it at 37 the second time, and they say, yep, positive, confirmed. So that's kind of how this rolls out here in Ontario and Canada.
We've known that case counts don't mean nothing for a while, but this just confirms it. Right now it's out there. Now one of their guys is saying it too, that it's 56%. And then people are off work for 2 weeks, and all the fallout from that, you're isolated away from your family, the things that this causes, the trickle down effect of it, right? It's just, we knew this. If I knew this, they knew it probably months before that. So they knew this.
They've known all along. They've known. I mean, they have the best. See, they're not naive. They're not ignorant. They've known, and I think they've known for a long time. But again, in Canada, we got to look at this from like a 15,000 foot view. Trudeau had a lot of political ambitions, I think, before all of this. And after speaking with Mr. McTagg and kind of getting some of his viewpoints on things, I think this is just a perfect storm and opportunity for the Prime Minister to try to push through his agendas, his ideological missions, as it were, green, at the detriment of Canadians. And it's just a political perfect climate for him right now.
Yep. I mean, look at the policies that have gone through. Bill C-10 and carbon tax are super important, but expansion of our healthcare capacity isn't.
Yeah, you hit on that. You hit on that, and I thought it was perfect. So, yeah, you're talking like, so we've 15 months now, 16 months? We've had all this time, and their priorities are environmental and let's censor people. And they haven't expanded any healthcare capacity really beyond a few pop-up like tents that aren't being used.
Yeah, no long-term solutions have been made. Like we obviously know capacity. We did the article, right? You did the article that dug up all the archive. It happens every year.
I'll pull it
we know in the GTA area they get slammed every winter. So yeah, another hospital in that area would be great, but you need people to staff it too. So they have thrown some money at free college for was it PSWs? I think there was some more money thrown at training nurses, but nurses, that's 4 years down the road.
Yeah, Jason Kenney talked about that. Actually, he talked about it was one of the most honest things he's actually said, I think, in a long time. Let me pull it up here. So he was talking about Albertans being frustrated because the Canelo Saunders fight had over 70,000 people in the stands, unmasked, not physically distanced. That was Florida, right? I believe it was Florida.
Vegas, maybe? Was it Vegas?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I watched it too. I don't remember.
So
I don't think it was Florida. The UFC fight was Florida, but I think it was Vegas, to be honest.
That might make sense. So he's talked about the difference in why can't we open up like Florida and Texas? And he goes, what we're dealing with on a good day in Alberta is 200 ICU beds for 4.5 million people, whereas Texas is dealing with 7,000 to 8,000 staffed ICU beds for a population of 29 million. He's like, I think that's 3 times the number of beds per capita for ICU beds. So he's basically talking about this is basically the detriment of socialized medicine here. So basically he said they had redundant capacity in the United States. And it basically means they have capacity of the ICUs that they don't expect to have to need because there's privatized healthcare. So because they can make money, they're willing to have staff capacity beyond what they would expect. And in Canada, they're basically trying to meet the minimal staffing expectation on a bad year. It's because they don't want to have to pay for this staff more than what they expect to need. So when you have like your influenza spikes, it's like 6 months of the year, there's a struggle at least. And then you add in a new virus like COVID, and there's already a stretched medical staff that's overrun most of the year, and they haven't really done anything to add to that capacity, to add more nurses, more hospitals, and there's no long-term game plan, like you said.
Well, it's just piss poor management then. If you can't find a way to use nurses and doctors when it's not peak season, you're just useless in my eyes. Like that's your job as an administrator and a manager, is to utilize your staff. If you can't figure out a way to utilize some of the most educated people on the planet here in the country, right? Like, what are you doing? What are you really doing?
I think it's a
peak season. Oh, we don't need them until.
Yeah.
That's just a lame duck excuse for me. Like, you need to find some, like, especially the doctors can find tons of work in this country. That's absurd to me.
Well, they need to promote rural doctoring. That's a problem. Like in rural areas, to find a doctor is near impossible. So promote it, lower the taxes. This is another thing. People like think doctors are loaded here in Canada. There's a reason,
not.
like there's a drain happening of good, talented physicians because they're not making enough money and they're going to the States. It was like Bloomberg I was reading on 2017 was reporting on this. So they're getting taxed at obscene amounts because they're viewed as rich. There's no exemptions for them. And they come out with, 8 to 10 or 12 years, if you specialize, maybe more of years of debt and schooling that they have to pay off on top of their like overhead for their clinic fees, running WSIB. They got a staff for their employees. What's your hydro cost? That's exorbitant here in Ontario and across Canada. It's not cheap either. On and on the list goes. So they need to find a solution. This whole system is broken. There's no other way to look at it. It's been broken for a long time. And we pull up this article. I'll just touch on this for Paul, and then I'll take it back to you. But from 2011, I wrote this article. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Sorry, everyone. Wrote this article. Please share it out. It's a great article, great resource. Opinion: overrun hospitals are not a COVID issue. The problem's not new. So I went all the way back to 2011 using CTV, CBC, Global News articles, went through their archives and basically pulled out articles explaining that this problem isn't new all across the nation. So like in 2011, we had Ontario Health Minister Deb Matthews said that some hospitals can't take any more patients or transferring people to other patients. So they're transferring people. They're overloaded. She said hospitals are doing everything they can to prevent the postponement of surgeries as the flu season tightens its grip on Ontario. That's all the way back in 2011. And then there's a few more. Oh, here. This was another one of my personal favorites. Very, very sensationalized. Christy Clark blames Abbotsford's hospital problem on bad flu season. So Premier Christy Clark is blaming the issue, this is in 2017, of overcrowded emergency rooms like the one seen at Abbotsford Regional Hospital on a bad flu season, she said. The Global News article said that BC Nurses Union described the emergency room at Abbotsford Hospital as a war zone or something out of the scene from MASH. There you go. 2017, 2011, and you go read that article, and there's I went back and I think there's 8 or 9, maybe 10 articles in there for your reference, and I didn't really dig as much as I could have. Like I could have put together like a novel of archived articles for everyone.
Yeah.
In videos.
It's a story as old as time, right? Like anybody who lives in Canada knows this. It's no hidden secret. They keep claiming we have the best healthcare. I mean, really, what they should be saying is you get what we pay for. It's free.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like and after all of this BS throughout COVID, the brain drain that's coming, you think it's bad now with doctors and physicians is going to get even worse. They're all going to flee to any country that their education can transfer over to. And
Australia, New Zealand, United States.
They're having their licenses threatened just for like talking about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Like, are you kidding me?
They sent out a letter literally saying, be careful who you talk to and what you post, and don't talk to your neighbors. Basically threatening these physicians that are willing to speak up. Like if you think in Canada as a physician, anything other than the toe of the line narrative, you're going to be targeted. That's kind of what they've said openly in writing. The physicians' colleges and things, they don't want these doctors coming out. You make
they literally said don't come out and talk about anything that's counter to public health.
Yeah.
Or there could potentially be consequences, essentially what they said, to which I saw like the entire day. You'd scroll through Twitter and just see doctors being like, no, not listening to that. That's not what this is about. Like, you ruin the pursuit of education and knowledge if you're unable to question things. So if you're telling people don't question things, how do we ever fix anything in the medical field? How do you ever do any research? It's literally their job.
And we don't have science in this. We have such a toxic cancel culture that's it's carried into the medical profession at this point. If you speak out, you get targeted through social media, through media, like journalists are targeting doctors that speak out and then smearing them now. And if you have any narrative outside of like the vaccine's the solution and exactly what the government says, like if you promote ivermectin, vitamin D, as all these things will get you targeted here in Canada. And so, you think the brain drain's bad now, like
just wait.
And on that topic,
the only on topic of Bill C-10, the only thing that really needs censoring in this country is the mainstream media. If we're being honest, like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, the way I posted it, I think yesterday or this morning, the CTV article, same day, within hours of each other, they post about the Palestinian protest, talked glowingly about it, then talked about the anti-lockdown protest, showed police officers arresting people. Same outlet, same day. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. That's how far gone they are. They don't care. They can talk however they want with any bias, and no one can hold them accountable.
Speaking of which, sorry, there's the picture. Thousands gather at Nathan Phillips Square in support of Palestinians in Gaza. No fines handed out.
And I'm not trying to take a position on what their protest was, but
No.
like, either they're both okay or they're not. Like, last I checked, you look back to the charter and it says you can do this. So if you want to throw it at, well, it's an emergency status. I mean, first of all, you need to act like it.
Yep.
The government needs to act like it's an actual emergency and do something for healthcare capacity. But if it is, maybe we just either don't do them at all and have the proportionality test go through the court and prove that it's fine, or you allow everything. You don't slander one and then promote the other. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's appalling at this point. Like,
The handling
even
of it.
if I strongly disagreed with something, I just wouldn't talk about it at all. They feel the need to talk about everything, and then they put their spin on it, right? Like, at least just shut up about something. If you don't support the anti-lockdown, shut up about it and then talk about all the great protests that you support. You know what I mean? That would still be better than what you're doing.
Well, the bias comes through so heavily on these things, and it's like, without getting too much into it, I'm trying to do more research on what's going on. I'm going to reach out to some people, I think, here in the near future. I think I need to go through the history books and try to understand more. But when you see the video of Toronto, Roman Baber put it out earlier today. Basically, there was attacks on Jewish members of the Toronto community, and police did nothing. And I'm sorry, but I kind of get emotional thinking about this, because, like, how freaking messed up is this world? Because I was just at the Toronto Freedom Rally yesterday, and don't get me wrong, I know the police need to be there to escort the march through and make it safe. But I think me and Broderick stopped counting, and there was like 25 foot officers, I think 9 or 10 officers on horse. And that presence was there, but then members of the community are getting attacked and no charges are filed. The police didn't do anything. And just you talk about the double standard. We're going to find speakers at one, but we're going to let members of the community get attacked at another and not do anything, because we are ruled by political mob. Then just come out and say it. And to extend that further, Paul, like, I don't like talking about this. I'm not trying to be facetious.
Nova Scotia, 100% created by the Liberal government. This is...
Nova Scotia government granted injunction to stop anti-mask, anti-lockdown protest. So, I mean, we have, in my opinion, we have ideologues who have reached the Supreme Court, and now we have rulings coming down that are in relation to their beliefs, including in Nova Scotia. There is a protest planned for this weekend. Group of people who don't agree with wearing masks or following restrictions, said Rankin. So they got an injunction granted by Supreme Court of Nova Scotia Justice Scott Norton, and it prohibits any rally that would contravene the province's public health directives. It also prohibits organizers from continuing to promote the rallies on social media and authorizes police to ensure compliance with the Health Protection Act. All while we're waiting for evidence to pan out in court. Pastor James Coates in the Justice Center in court said, hey, like, it's been 15 months. We're constitutionally are going to challenge this based on the charter and the Constitution. And then they asked to not have to do that, and they were granted that. So they didn't have to provide the scientific evidence to back this up. And meanwhile, as they're taking away your rights and putting the boot on your face, I'm using hyperbole, you're waiting for your day in court and hoping that the right decision will be made.
And the court system is about as backed up as our medical system.
If not more.
3.5 year backlog of surgeries. That
That's
the
frustrating.
Church of God in Elmer, their court date, because they just locked the doors and seized their property. Their court date's not till October. I
Yep.
gotta wait like 6 months, basically, by the time they get in.
But everybody looks at it this way. This is the issue. Well, it's not me, and things are okay right now, and it's whatever. And they sit on the sidelines. It's like, if you do not see that, it will be you. Maybe it's me, and I grew up listening to punk music, and I can think of an Anti-Flag song that literally the intro was, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out. Then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out. Then they came for me. Attacks on rights are attacks on all people. This guy, justice delayed is justice denied. If you're going to do that, there should be court proceeding within like 2-3 weeks max. How is it 2-3 or 6 months down the road? Hey, Paul, we're going to take your truck. We think you did something bad. Okay, and we're not giving it back. You know what? You may very well be innocent, and you have the right to a fair trial. 6 months from now, you might have a chance to get your truck back. That's what they just did. You may hate that church. You may hate everything they stand for. You may hate. It doesn't matter. They just did that to someone, and it could be you now, because they opened the door, Pandora's box. It's like foot in the door, and the government goes, sweet, and they start prying, and then the levee breaks.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and yeah, like we said, you may not align with their line of thinking, but yeah, it's just, well, here's number one, and then they're just going to go down the line until it affects you. It's the same thing with like legal gun ownership. It's like, that's why people fight to keep guns, is because it's a right, and once they take that, well, then what else are they going to take? You know what I mean? Once the guns are all gone, well, guns aren't a talking point anymore. Then people are going to get upset about something else and try to take that away from you. So you got to stand up, and you got to do something about it and be vocal. And I don't know. It's just like this is literally, like, COVID has been Pandora's box for them to just abuse the legal system via these emergency statuses that they can end anytime. They should probably end anytime, because like, we've been flatlined on the death count for months. It's like, cases are not proportionate to death. Yep. That's what we know. That's what we know already. By the 2009 definition of a pandemic, this isn't a pandemic.
No, because the 2009 definition, for those who don't know, the World Health Organization changed the definition basically to mean that it didn't have to be just an exponential virus with exponential growth, or virus with exponential growth, meaning contagious. It had to have a certain death factor to it. And this doesn't meet the criteria. I'm sorry, it just doesn't, based on the old definition, which is some conspiracy, some have theorized that that's why they changed it, is that they wanted to be able to claim, yeah, I know, you go down the path and it's like, okay, anything can be.
Why bother if it, like, why bother? And no, the real issue is no one can do anything about it. They just changed. It didn't have to go through a court process.
Yep.
They just changed it. Now the whole world has to react, because we have to abide by the governing bodies on health. Yeah. That's the concerning part. And that is what is actually going to happen after all the dust settles here, is like, that type of stuff's going to wind up in court, that forever and ever will be changed to not allow these things. And it's
or to allow them. You gotta, I know, like, I look at it with optimism, but man, if a Supreme Court judge is granted an injunction against protest,
I just appreciate the fact that Americans hate these things as much as we do, because they have so much economic pull that they're able to be like, no, and people listen, right? Like, we start screaming at the top of our lungs, no one really cares, because we don't have that economic superpower behind us. But if China and the US start doing it, then all of a sudden people start falling in line, right?
We talked about Pandora's box kind of opening up here, but this is Dan Kelly of Canadian Federation for Independent Business. This is the title of our video today. But 1 in 5 Ontario businesses expected to close due to lockdowns, according to their data. So this was from a radio segment he did. He put out a tweet, and it kind of went viral. He said, the number of tweets and emails I've received from business owners ready to defy lockdowns is growing by the minute, especially in Ontario. He said, I don't think governments appreciate how close we are to society's breaking point. He said these aren't people that were vocal in the first or second wave and actually supported it, but there just seems to be no direction. Basically, 1 in 6 businesses in Canada expected to close, 1 in 5 in Ontario if we don't extend another lockdown. And so that's, I mean, what do you say about that? That's if nothing changes, if they don't extend it again. And that doesn't seem to be the game plan. I mean, they seem to be more than content to just, well, hey, guys, like, here's a carrot. Maybe they give us outdoor after the extension here. Maybe they'll say you can golf now, but we're going to keep the lockdowns in place, or basically all these restrictions in place. That's what I expect to have happen, if we're being honest here.
Yeah, like, you need to understand these things run downhill. We haven't really felt the full effect of this yet because people are getting free money. We're printing it right now. But the effect you're feeling is inflation. We're all seeing that. Things are getting more expensive because we're printing money because people are riding CERB because they're not working. But this will add more to that. Once that money dries up and they stop handing it out, one of two things happens. People are broke and not working and try to re-enter the workforce, and there is no jobs because 1 in 5 businesses have closed. And even, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what it looks like.
How many employees? Not only do those businesses close, more people then. You got to remember, there's multiple owners of these businesses. They're now re-entering the workforce. They're not hiring employees. They are an employee now. So it's even less and less and less jobs available. And then you go the other way. If we keep printing money to bail this out, kick it down the road, inflation just eats us alive. We're already $1.1 trillion. Put the pinky in the corner of your mouth. $1.1 trillion, guys. That's what we're at. Like joke money.
Yep.
Like, Austin Powers joke money. That's where we're at right now. Like it's not a joke. Like this is serious stuff. But no one seems to care about the economy in today's age. Oh, it's unfortunate that business owners have to be a bystander in the massacre of the economy.
It's such a it's not, when we talk about the economy is not just the economy. It's not dollars and zeros. It is people's livelihoods. It bothers me so much.
Retirements.
Yes, it's people's pensions,
homes.
retirements, their homes, their hope.
A lot of small businesses need collateral to get the loans required to run their business. A lot of people tie their homes to their business. You lose the business, you lose your house. You're homeless, you're unemployed. And then factor in the unemployment rate. When it goes up, suicides go up.
Yep.
This
and
is
then overdoses, then alcoholism.
You're toying with more than what you say you are, but you put it out there, no one digs deep enough that they don't figure these things out. And then when you say, maybe we shouldn't be doing these lockdowns and closing businesses, people, stare at you and look at you funny. You're the one saying something?
I'm a bad guy. Point a finger to the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy because here's the reality. If 20% of jobs are going to be gone forever, let's take off the rose-colored glasses. If 20% of them are going to be gone, you know what? Who's the first to go? The young people, the inexperienced in the workforce. And guess what happens when the young people can't get jobs? There's nothing productive for them to look forward to. They get angsty. And then it's like, oh, you think there's issues now percolating? Those will get worse too. And you talk about the inflation, it's already occurring. And there seems to be no way out. And I was just having a discussion with someone I think is pretty well informed on these topics the other night. And it's like, we're trying so hard to get people to wake up, and it's like even in the leadership of the people that are trying to speak up, it's like people are still afraid to put their foot fully in the water. They're dipping the toes. It's okay right now. It's like this, and I just said, I think we're in a day and age where entertainment is so prevalent. It's so heavy. People just get bombarded with misinformation and all sorts of entertainment that it's like we're being boiled really quickly, but people don't even realize it because the numbing agent of entertainment and bombardment of just like everything's going to be okay. Just, put on the TV, pop your beer, drink, play your video games. Everything's going to be all right. Just a little bit longer, 2 more weeks, just another lockdown, guys. It's like, and people don't see the connection. It's like, do you see the economy? Okay, now we're not going to have the money to pay back the debt. That means that we're going to either have to borrow or we're going to go bankrupt like Greece, right? And then what happens then? Right? So then the government's talking about, and this is the part that blows me away. During all this, we're broke. 1.1 trillion, I think, is the projection. We spent more than both world wars combined, and now they're talking about a UBI and pharmacare. The political pipe dreams of the NDP, Green Party, and Liberal coalition coming through during a pandemic when they should never be talking about a tax increase. Well, let's do it because, it's a perfect opportunity, the Deputy Prime Minister says. It's an opportunity. That's the way our government looks at this. And until you realize that and truly digest that, you're in la la land.
Yep.
Welcome
then
to
you
reality.
factor in the fact that like half of people are working from home too, and they're not. You know what I mean? Like
they're not affected by it.
They don't care. Their lives are easier. They're still making their money, and they don't even have to commute to work.
I will go as far as to say a lot of people have enjoyed the lockdowns. Oh, I save so much money. I'm not going out as much now. And I can basically work when I'm from home in my PJs. It's great. And then they hear all the headlines that justify, you're a terrible person if you're out there doing this. They're the antis. Go get them. Like,
we're white extremists.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
White supremacists.
Like, you posted that like video on Twitter, and like people are like, "Oh, the white extremists are out," and I'm like, "Yo, there's like 15 people of color in like the first 30 seconds of this video. Like, are we blind now too?" Like,
I know. I was watching the comments come through. I'm just gonna pull it up, but yeah, I know white supremacist and all sorts of other names being tossed out. Here, I got the video here. I'm gonna pull it up. Here we are. So everybody going viral on Twitter, Diverge Media. There you go. All right, so that's our Twitter. So that was after standing there for 15 minutes, 4-lane road, 2 bike lanes on each side, and that was still the crowd coming at that point.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I haven't seen the aerial shots come out yet, but I imagine it was much larger than what people were reporting.
Well, we even reported probably low. I had somebody kind of check me on it. I reviewed the video footage. I don't have enough to go on is basically why we readjusted the estimate. If somebody has aerial footage or a balcony shot of the crowd coming down. So my basic explanation why we dialed it back, we had 10,000 plus, we dialed it back to 6,000 to 8,000. I think there probably was more, but I can't tell based on photographs and video footage that I have available to me. Basically, it's a 4-lane road with 2 bike lanes. It's the density of the crowd is hard to guess. So I was basically watching segments of the video and counting off like 25, 50 people at a time and kind of trying to guess from how long the crowd went. The issue is one individual said there was like 45 minutes he stood there, but I don't know if that was like a straggler here and there or there was some density to that crowd because we left after I think 25, 26 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, again, like they still don't listen. I don't know what to do. You email them, you call them, they don't listen. You protest, they don't listen. What's the alternative here?
And
like,
a lot of people, what is this? Like even people, what does this accomplish? You're the reason we're still in law. I had a business owner attacking me. And it's like she was talking about the color-coded system. It's like, why do I care about the color-coded system? We need to learn to live with this. Enough with color-coded freedoms, which is really a color-coded way of saying you will not get them back because there's a framework that can always ensure that we're willing to dial back your ability to do business and live your life. So, oh man.
Yeah, no, that is, yeah, like what's the end game here? Like, and then we were talking about like, maybe if you want to segue into that, but like the 75% thing.
Yeah.
Is like, name me the countries that have hit 75% that are the most vaccinated on the planet. Name them.
Yeah, so on this topic of like, well, guys, if we just all get vaccinated, just 75% of the nation, most vaccinated places on earth, we're going to go through that next. Share it out if this is a good one for reference for people that are maybe thinking this is the hope, the way out, right? Trudeau basically said we could have a slightly better summer if we just did everything he said. Okay, so let's pull it up. New York Times, I think that's it. So this is, tracking coronavirus vaccinations around the world. They put together a tool here. Vaccinations by country per 100 people. Seychelles is a very, very small nation, leads with 71% of their nation vaccinated, 63% fully vaccinated. Like when people's like, oh, Israel, San Marino, they're at 60 and 56, and they're like some of the most vaccinated places in the world. We also have the UK, 54 and 29, United States, 47-37. So United States is 47-37, and 23 states are open, and even the ones that are restricted, they're all planning on opening up shortly unless something drastic changes. And you got to imagine from their standpoint, if you're a Democrat and all the Republican states have opened up, it's getting harder and harder to be the holdout here. I mean, the numbers keep coming down. It's people's lives have gone back to normal. The culture's starting to go, hey, this is the way things should be again. So how are you going to hold out? Here it's like
even California.
Even California. All right, sorry.
Even California is got plans to reopen, and they were considered like the worst of the lot in the United States, of a bunch of kooky, crazy, green Kool-Aid drinking people who were just loving their lockdown life. They even got plans to reopen. They were jokingly calling us California North in Ontario, and we can't even call ourselves that anymore because they're still going to reopen before us.
Okay, so here, we got our stats here. I just pulled them up. I found Canada. Everybody. All right, so Seychelles, 63% second vaccination, 71 first. Where's the U.S.? U.S. is 47-37. I don't know how we bungled the second rollout more so than any other nation. Oh, I do, because I see how our prime minister is. But 44% on first vaccination, 3.7 on the second dose. And I'm not advocating. I personally don't want the vaccine myself until there would be long-term efficacy, trials out and things like that. And plus, I'm in an age group, if it doesn't prevent transmission and it just reduces symptoms, I'm really not concerned about what's going to happen to me if I get this virus at all. I'm sorry.
Not at my age. No, not at my age and fitness level.
And if I get sick, you're going to spread it asymptomatically. It doesn't happen. And 10 million people tested in Wuhan, China, 300 positive PCR tests. 0 were actually infectious when they went to the lab. So, I mean, it doesn't happen. This whole asymptomatic, if you get sick, revolutionary idea, you stay home.
Weird. We haven't been doing that. Yeah. We haven't been doing that in Canada until there was a pandemic either.
No, we never did.
Then the whole office gets sick and you actually kill somebody and no one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when did we start caring?
I'll give you a perspective here. Before COVID was officially like kicked off and the hysteria began, my warehouse manager where I worked, I remember him coming in and puking in the toilet with the flu. And I'm like, hey, you should probably go home. It's like that was okay in people's minds. He's like, oh, there's nobody that can replace me. I gotta be here. And then all of a sudden it's like revolutionary idea. You're sick, stay home. And then we talk about not doing anything. Paid sick leave. I would be okay with the idea of paid sick leave in a way that's fashion that you can't abuse it. So like actually having to have a physician examine you and declare that you're ill within a time frame. Not that that's ideal. And then our system's broken. Yeah, exactly.
By the time you get in, you'd be healthy.
Yeah. For like 48 hours later, you get in and you're already past the sickness, and the doctor's like, "Were you sick?" And you're like, "That's pretty much it."
I promise I was.
I trust.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, with this vaccine thing, like 75% is a pipe dream. Like everybody, if you're like in your 30s and 20s, definitely don't get your teenagers vaccinated. Like.
Oh, did you see,
or
like
children, like I don't know why they're talking 12-year-olds. Like what is going on in this country? Like they're relatively unaffected by this. It's safer for them than the seasonal flu.
Yep, and it doesn't prevent transmission.
And it doesn't prevent them from getting sick. Like I don't know. I don't know what to tell people, man.
And they already
I went to the garden center today.
Yep,
and they have capacity limits. which are like crazy low. It's like 20 people or 10 people. And everybody's waiting in line, wearing a mask while they're waiting in line.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even in the place yet. You're outside.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person except me had a mask on. I walked to the door, and as soon as I walked in, I then put mine on because you gotta. Or, you know, the Karens of the world try to rip you apart, and I just don't need that on my Sunday. I just want to sit on the patio and drink beer. So I just...
Isn't that the truth?
So, but yeah, that's like what I was seeing, and I'm like, and then I go to the cash register, and the lady there is like, throws my receipt at me and like backs into the corner because she doesn't want to get close to me. Like, and her age and her fear, I'm going to tell you right now, she was vaccinated, and that's the way the people are acting. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you guys, but 75% of people aren't going to get vaccinated. So I hope you, sorry, but you're never going to see your family again if you're following these restrictions. They got
yeah.
I have a feeling the government's bluff's going to get called here, and they're going to have to pivot. I don't know. People are calling for Doug Ford to be fired and whatnot. It's like, well, put the next guy in and see what happens, because, you know, Mrs. Tam is still running the show there, isn't she? And she's just going to do the same old crap. Like, you can blame Ford all you want, but Tam's calling the shots, according to him.
Yeah, quick time out here for a little shameless plug and promotion from the Diverge Media team. Diverge Media is a business trying to make money so that I can do this full time. And just so for our audience here, the deadline is to make this a sustainable business for at least myself is September. So we have merch available, and we also take donations. Shameless self-plug. Hats in the background. We have our Diverge Media's a virus shirt, $35 each, and it will be shipped to your house via Canada Post. For the t-shirt orders, because everything in this world costs money, it costs additional money to get a program to list the sizes on the website. So when you place your order for a t-shirt, in the special options, please put your size. We will email you back whether or not we have that in stock, and if not, we will refund your money instantly as quick as possible. Thank you, and back to the show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like the t-shirt is live now on the website. Like it's in the shop now. Today, that's when that happened. So that's why you're plugging it.
We got one order already, and I might as well keep the shameless plug going and pull up the shop. Thank you to Stephanie Mello of SM Digital Marketing. She does phenomenal work, has been helping us out for the last year. Can't recommend her enough if you have business needs or marketing needs. But yeah, Media is a Virus t-shirt available on the store. Man, that looks good. I am so happy with how they turned out. But
who's the model there, though?
A pretty ugly model. He's free, though. That's so bad. If anybody wants to take a picture that looks prettier than me and send it into Diverge Media and give us the rights to use it, you could be Diverge Media's model. I will have no problem taking that picture down for the record. It's so bad. She's like, do you have any pictures? I'm like, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I do. All right. All right. Back to a show here. Sorry.
Shameless plug over.
Yeah, shameless plug is over. I wanted to play the Jason Kenney thing. It's like a 2-minute clip. It's him trying to justify the ICU beds. But again, I just think case fatality, that was the one thing I had for a comparison here. In that article, where'd it go? No. I did a comparison on case fatality rates because Kenny's trying to say that their approach basically made it so that they had higher fatalities. And so I just basically went through pro-lockdown states versus not very pro-lockdown or opened up early or eased restrictions quicker because everybody kind of had their own version of lockdown for the most part initially. So you can't say like there wasn't a non-lockdown. But here it is. Breakdown, pro-lockdown, harder lockdown states. California is kind of the outlier. 1.63, North Carolina 1.31, Washington 1.46. But here's where it gets hazy. New York, case fatality rate of 2.32%. New Jersey 2.9%. Michigan at 2.53. Non-lockdown opened early. Alabama led the pack at 2.03. That's the high end. Georgia 1.74. South Dakota 1.67. Nebraska 1.04. Utah at 0.5.2. And Texas and Florida 1.65 and 1.69. So I mean, he tries to show. I'll play the clip here, but I'll get your thoughts. He's trying to say that yeah, they were bad in the non-lockdown states. He doesn't say it outright, but he kind of indicates it, in my opinion, and uses it as a comparison of why Alberta has the better options. But the fundamental issue is basically there's like 300 ICU beds in the province that are capable of taking on extra patients at any given time, and a difference of like 100 patients could be the difference of tipping that scale into completely overflow capacity.
Is that a COVID issue?
Overflow capacity of the hospitals?
I don't think it is. Do you think it's a COVID issue? So we should lock down for COVID?
Yeah. Where was the lockdown?
Because
Yeah.
we have a terrible health system? Because if that's the case, I'll see you in 30 years.
Yep.
Because like we ain't leaving the house for 30 years. Because this problem isn't getting fixed. Bill C-10 and carbon tax are the priorities, right? Like we're nothing for healthcare capacity. Nothing.
23 states and counting are open now. We'll just play this video here for you. Jason Kenney trying to justify it.
Poorly.
I know a lot of Albertans are getting very frustrated watching, tens of thousands of people get together in a football stadium to watch a boxing match in Florida the other night, and people partying it up, and life pretty much back to normal in many of the U.S. states. It kind of makes me ticked off too. There's three things I want to point out. First of all of those states had went into this year with much higher levels of immunity because of higher levels of infection. People got antibodies, which gave them a level of protection. Texas and those states we estimate at the beginning of March had about a third of their population had gotten COVID. They had the antibodies, they were protected. Versus we might be up at around 12% in Alberta now. But they paid a very dear price for that. With their death rate in states in the U.S., depending on the state, it ranges between 3 and 5 times higher, or 3 and 6 times higher than Alberta. So I don't.
So that's why that CFR mattered. That comparison. You see that a lot of the lockdown states did more poorly than the ones that didn't. So him insinuating that was the price to pay, it's like, no, the system's different, and they in general had higher case fatality rates.
Apples and oranges. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He also failed to mention that 40% of people, like you have 40% immunity based on your exposure to previous coronaviruses off the hop, not 12%. I don't know why he keeps talking 12%. It was 40, right off the hop, right out of the gate. That's what you got, right? And then your exposures to it increase that as you build your immunity to it. On top of that, there's states that opened up before a vaccine was available with almost, you know what I mean? Florida. And the death rates aren't comparable. Like Florida. We're worse than some of them. So like, I don't know, 23 states are open with less vaccinated than us. I don't know why they refuse to acknowledge that the vaccines don't work. If that's what you want people to get because they work, then don't say that they don't work.
The only argument they can say is that they have a higher percentage of second doses, but if that's the case, then your whole program sucks. If that's the
because you made people wait 4 months to go get it, right?
You and they literally can't live
so everybody has to suffer because of the way you rolled this out. That's really the truth, actually.
Call a spade a spade. They are experimenting on people with the rollout here. It's 21 days is the manufacturer recommendation. They said 4 months. Where did they pull that number from?
I don't know where they get any other information from anymore, because like none of it makes sense to me. They all talk out their ass and conveniently finesse the truth. I don't know. It's conclusive. And there's so many medical studies that say lockdowns don't work, but we are just like, we're already talking a fourth one. Want to bet that one happens? I will. I'd bet my life savings that the fourth lockdown is going to happen.
Well, I mean,
but we also don't test. That's a good point with this. We don't test people for antibodies before we vaccinate them. So if I have the antibodies already, why do I got to wait around for a vaccine? Can I go back to life as normal? I'm good.
It's not about the end result. It's about for some reason there's a push and they want people to be vaccinated. It's not about we want you to be protected. We want you, again, if if it prevented illness, like it prevented you from spreading it, and maybe you could still get sick yourself or something, then maybe they'd have an argument. But that's not the case. And so, yeah, you talk about finessing the truth. Yeah, we're going to pull this up here, but this has been
There's
out.
another thing that he forgot to mention was that a lot of people went down to the States and got vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking, like, I don't know how they're tracking the percent of vaccinated people, but like some people were vaccinated before we even had vaccines, because you can get them in the States. You can just, because they have a private sector that you can throw some money at them, and as a Canadian citizen, you can go get a vaccine.
Yep.
I know in Florida, I think you had to own property down there, but all the snowbirds that were down there that own property, call and book an appointment, throw some money at it. You had to wait a bit for an appointment, but you got it and you got vaccinated and you came home, and they're not going to get vaccinated again. Like, there's so much he was missing and was off the mark with, while completely ignoring the fact that these cause more harm than good, these lockdowns. To me, at this point, vaccination and lockdowns and COVID, they're completely separate issues. Like we're talking about healthcare capacity, but you're locking down based upon COVID cases. I don't get it. Like, cases shouldn't matter at some point, because they're not going to change dependent upon how many people are vaccinated.
Well, it's because they've created a moral panic. Oh, right, we got to hit COVID zero. Nobody, nobody can die from this. Got bad news for everybody. Take off the rose-colored glasses. People die every year.
Life has inherent risks, and you are responsible for your own health. That's the message you should be sending and educating people on how to go about being healthy. We're not going to avoid this with a vaccine. You're still going to get sick, and people are still going to die. Will it be less? Probably. Like, these vaccines are effective. Like, there's no denying that. The medical studies are there that say that they're effective in lessening the damage of the virus. Is that so we can go back to eating, like, smashing cheeseburgers and half a dozen bacon and eggers for Doug Ford from Tim Hortons every day? Like, just so we can go back to abusing our bodies because COVID won't kill us now because it lessens the blow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's not actually take care of ourselves. Let's get a vaccine. And hey, on your way out, go get your free donuts from Krispy
They're handing
Kreme.
out free burgers and fries at one pop-up vaccination clinic. Krispy Kreme at another. Like, what kind of messaging are you sending?
McDonald's is now putting, like, vaccine promotions on their boxes of fries. Like, that's where we're at. Like, we don't even want to acknowledge. Vitamin D is for boosting your immune system is fake news, according to Patty Hadou. A year into this pandemic, that's her line of thinking. So that's why we are where we are, is because we have, like, let's just say it, we have stupid people in positions they shouldn't have zero business being in.
Let's get it straight. I don't think that the people are in positions of power are stupid. I just think they're arrogant. Like,
I think a good chunk of them are stupid.
Oh, okay.
Like, the ones that you would prefer they be stupid, are actually very calculated and manipulative, and they mend the rest of their party into that mold or force it, right?
That's what I mean.
If you talk out about it, you lose your job, essentially, because then you become we've seen it with Roman Baber lose his conservatorship with the PC party, and now he's an independent because he talked about lockdowns ain't helping guys publicly. Well, since he said it publicly and you went against the grain, you can't even have a decent conversation anymore. You just got to go with whatever leadership says. So yeah, you're basically a sheep, or you're stupid, or you're unwilling to sacrifice your job or the funding that comes with being part of this party. Like, either way, you call yourself a leader, but you ain't a leader.
Oh, the real reason this is still going on is there's not enough people standing up. Like, read that Dan Kelly's report. Or his tweet, you have many businesses emailing ready to defy law. Then do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Put a date. Come on. Like I said, what are you waiting for?
I got a haircut yesterday. I just put that out there. So,
hey, you want to show it off?
Not really. It's not. I got a bed head. I just threw a hat on for this. I got a shave. I didn't wear a mask. It was great. It's a good time.
Terrible.
Good banter. People smiling. And that was the thing, is like, people walked in. I'm not outing this individual for running their shop. Like, by all means, I would like to continue going there. But people walked in with masks on, knowing they were going to get a haircut when they shouldn't be, right? They're still wearing a mask on. No one cares. You want to wear a mask? Don't care. You don't want to wear a mask? Don't care. That's called freedom of choice. It was wonderful.
Revolutionary idea. I mean, we've created all it is the government and the media organizations have made it virtuous with the way they painted this by selectively ignoring experts. This is all opinion, but by selectively ignoring experts and selectively ignoring people that have they're experts in their field that bring value to the conversation, they've just painted it a virtuous thing for people to be outraged at. So now it's like fashionable to be a dink and treat people like garbage if they don't comply to this way of thinking, way of life that we're expected to adhere by. That doesn't make sense. It is not compassionate. It is cruel compassion for me to put my boot on your face and say, hey, Paul, I know you poured your life savings into that business of yours. I know you remortgaged your house and you'll lose everything and your kids won't be able to feed themselves and their education fund will be gone. Your pension will be gone. Quite frankly, I don't give two shits. You know what? It is politically convenient for me now to put my boot on your face because people want me to do that. That's where we're at in Canada. There's no leadership. They're doing this because it's politically convenient. So the leadership's going to have to come from the grassroots. You said it to me the other night in a text message. Politicians in Canada don't seem to lead. They follow. So who's leading?
Who is leading? Because like if you can't even be a leader anymore because once you do, they pull your card. Now you're an independent. The independents are the only leaders there because they can freely speak their mind and not get scolded behind closed doors. They basically don't have a boss at that point, right? Like zero leadership. It's just this is very convenient for a government to put through all the policies they want to because no one can do anything about it. Courts are closed. Mm-hmm. And then what drives me nuts is that there's healthcare workers out there that can't get their hands on a vaccine, but teachers who are working remotely, the union is running campaigns on the radio to try and get them vaccines before kids go back to school. Are you kidding me? And then have to listen to Doug Ford be like, well, we could, it is safe to send them back, but the teachers union, like, well, who runs the show, Doug?
Yeah, like why? Okay, so the same guy that said, I don't go against my healthcare advice. I don't go against what the chief medical officers say. I might as well just throw a rope around my neck and jump off a bridge if I do that. It's the same guy that the teacher unions, he basically says like, oh, the kids should be back in school, but I don't have a spine and the teachers unions are tough and scary and I just don't want to deal with that. Feel sorry for me, everyone. Like, I'm sorry. You've destroyed lives with this is the issue, right? People get mad at me. I have family members that get mad at me. Oh, you don't talk so mean about Doug. I'm sure he's not a bad guy. But when you're elevated to a position of leadership and you're not a great person with character and integrity, and then that crisis comes through, 99% of the time you may be okay. But under a crisis, the cracks show. And you're not a leader. Doug, you're not a leader. Either is Justin. There's no leaders in Canada. Point me to one really that's elected right now that you could be like, yeah, they're leading from the front. I mean, other than the one. I mean, yeah.
Roman Baber.
Okay, I meant to say like there's a few independents, right? Roman Baber, Randy Hillier.
He was a conservative, right? And he got booted for being a leader, but he also is a lawyer and he's filed filed suits against the government for outdoor activities to be reopened. They've been kicking that can down the road for a while on him. He's been talking about it for months. It's going to happen soon, I think. But yeah, like he's the only one I can think of other than Derek Sloan, Maxime Bernier, Randy Hillier, those guys. You don't have to align with these guys politically to get behind the let's get rid of these lockdowns thing. No. Like I don't align with a lot of politicians, but when they put policy through that makes sense for my life, I'm pretty happy about it. Let's be honest.
Yep. No, there's sorry, I meant to say plug it here, but there is 60 elected members, I think, roughly 60 through the Liberty Coalition of mayors, town councilors, city councilors, all the way up to a Derek Sloan, Randy Hillier, Maxime Bernier is a part of that as well. So yeah, I mean there is, but I mean the list is not big enough, and it needs to be people in position. It needs to be people from the top. Like, Derek Sloan talked about it. He's like, there is going to be politicians that when it becomes politically convenient to do so, will sweep in and try to take credit for staying against it. But they'll do it at the last moment when it's politically convenient.
Well, that's what we were going to talk about is the NDP.
Yeah.
We'll quickly hit that before we close out here. But like the NDP, it's, not confirmed yet, I guess. The whispers are going around. It kind of got leaked that the NDP were putting forth a motion for a vote for outdoor activities to be allowed.
Yeah.
And again, going with that narrative of like, it's, politically convenient. Well, it's every medical expert out there is rolling their eyes at Doug Ford for not allowing it. So it's pretty convenient to be like, hey, we're going to win some votes with this one and come through and be like, it's low hang. It's easy. Like, you got to give them some credit because they're putting forth and no one else is.
Sad.
But not a lot. Yeah, that is sad. But not a lot because it is low hanging fruit that it's just like, well, this is a layup for them.
Yeah, so even the Ontario Science Table. Yeah, even the Ontario Science Table backs it. So it's not like it's hard for them to step in and be like, yep, we support it too. But they'll pull that up.
And then all the Liberals and all their buddies are going to vote on it because it goes against Doug Ford, right? This is just this political back and forth about the borders and about vaccine rollout. And it's just back forth between Trudeau and Doug Ford right now. So he's going to hop on board and vote against him, right? And be like, see, you guys aren't following the science. So it's probably going to pass if it goes to vote.
Yeah, it's Brampton NDP leader Sarah Singh will force a vote on a motion Monday. This was a press release. TVO's editor, John McGrath, our digital media producer for TVO, John McGrath, released it on Twitter. It's like a press leak release kind of thing. So it hasn't happened yet, not confirmed, but parents and their kids have been coped up for months. Doug Ford is making it worse by banning outdoor activities. Needlessly robbing people of activities that are good for our physical and mental health is cruel and piles on the struggles that people are already enduring as the pandemic goes on. So they're asking that basically that be taken out, whether it's simply shooting hoops with the family. Countless outdoor activities can be done safely, said Singh on behalf of the NDP. I'm putting it to a vote next week. Let the people get out and play.
Yep. Needs to be done. Like, you got to look at this from a worldly lens, right? Like, you can't look at it from like even my perspective where I have a home with a bit of a yard and a park down the street, like a playground down the street that we're allowed to go to. So for me and my child, life ain't so bad, but like, let's venture into Toronto and look at what's going on in all the condos and all the apartments where there's like a couple hundred kids locked up, don't have any yard to run around in, don't have a playground to go to. Yep. You just took away their basketball court and their tennis court. Now they have zero physical activity. This is all about health. How does that fit the narrative of healthy, having people sit inside, away from their vitamin D intake, mind you, away from exercise, away from developing social skills for kids? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
the idea of blanket lockdowns is it's kind of counterproductive in my mind, because I think the more stressed and anxious people become due to the stress caused by lockdowns, not knowing where your job's at, not knowing if you got a future with the company, can I make my payment, on and on the list goes. You actually become more susceptible to illness and actually getting sick, because believe it or not, depression and anxiety and stress bring down your immune system. So it's kind of like, it's very counterproductive. And the policy doesn't make sense. And to do it again, like, we could, even a targeted age lockdown, I could understand more so than what we're doing. Like, if you said, hey, if you're above the age of 65, you're going to have a special shopping time, and it's only going to be people that age that shop, or with people with comorbidities. You know what I mean? That might be a better option, but that's not what they're doing. And
well, even if you dig into the emergency laws, the restrictions they put in place need to directly impact the place they're put in place. So how does like these lockdowns, because of like 80% of our issue is coming out of the GTA. Okay, let's take a drive 10, 15, 20 hours north, still in Ontario. Let's go up to where even, Ryan is. our brother, in Moonbeam. How does closing their businesses, schools, when they've been in a green zone the entire time, help? How does that follow your emergency laws? It doesn't. Oh, let's close the like it's just
It's
bang my
perception.
head against the wall every day in hopes that I get a little bit dumber so I'm on their level so it doesn't bother me as much. That's where I'm at.
It's a game of political perception. That's all it is. Oh no, they keep saying it's out of control, and it's like the media conveniently ignores the fact that there's been over a decade of overrun hospitals every influenza season, and then all of a sudden it's always COVID's fault that they're overrun. No, it's the system has been crumbling for a long time, and COVID's a feather on top of a system that was already crumbled and needed a lot of help. And people forget Doug Ford ran on ending hallway medicine. It was a cornerstone of his campaign.
Yeah, you saw my rant. I think we posted it on the page, right? But it's like the worst part is at the end of this, we'll have spent billions, ruined people's lives, taken away their businesses, their jobs, depleted their retirement savings. We denied access to healthcare, a proper education, not just for a little bit, for a couple years now. Like this is affecting 2 school years at this point. And at the end of it all, we will still have the same issue next winter when flu season arrives. Because nothing, absolutely nothing has been done to help the healthcare sector.
Yeah, okay, so this is, you add it. We're going to wrap up here in the next 5 minutes. Let's just hone out on this topic. Kids, almost 2 years are going to be out of school now. How does that affect their development, their social skills going forward? What's the long-term repercussions to the workforce going forward as a result? Right? They're literally kind of giving kids passes right now that don't deserve them, not any fault of their own. These kids are kind of being left to their own vices and trying to make do in homes that where the parents are doing their own thing and working on and on, right? And what's the detriment to that going down the future? And then the masking thing plays into that too. All these conversations nobody's had about these restrictions. It's almost 2 years of kids in developmental stages of their life looking at a caretaker for the majority of their day that is in a mask. And how does that affect their development, micro-expression reading, their ability to interact with people? There's studies on this kind of stuff, and they've all been ignored. And I've been sounding alarm for at least 6 to 8 months on stuff like this, on the development of children, on how this is harming our social and cultural fabric. People aren't going to interact the same after this. People are like distance and don't like talk the same. And is this going to change society fundamentally? It's gone on so long. There's people that will never really truly go back to normal.
For sure. I would almost guarantee you from here on out, every flu season, you're going to see people masked up. Not a lot, but you're still going to see it. And there's nothing like, whatever, man. Do you? Like, I don't genuinely care. I just like, we need to get back to, like I said earlier, life has inherent risks and you are responsible for your own health. We need to get back to that. We need to help the healthcare sector and the LTCs. Like, again, we're going to get to the end of this and they're still going to be in shambles. Then what? Like, because you're going to lose all your doctors. Like, you're gonna. And we won't talk about that in the mainstream media, I guarantee that. But it will be the undoing. All this BS you fed people has consequences. And how long have we, like me specifically, but us at Diverge, been calling for a cost-benefit analysis? How long? Still haven't done one? Weird. We have all the data. Like, it's just like, at what point, like, I have sent so many emails and made phone calls. Will Booma in Brant has yet to respond to one. I will never vote for him. Doug Ford has yet to respond to one. I will never vote for him. Again, a guy who said he'd solve hallway medicine. Useless. Just put a budget forward. I didn't see anything in there for it.
Yep.
Like, we're still going to have this problem at the end of it all. The psychological impacts for kids is just being able to, like, read someone's experience. Like, like, we talk about it with, like, autistic kids where they don't have that filter. That it just kind of comes out, right? I think we're going to see a little bit more of that with kids because they're not going to have that social awareness
I
where
think
they're not able to read a room, essentially, where they're not able to like get a vibe off someone. We're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people have that. It's a social skill. Like you can read a room and see what I'm saying right now isn't like flying with these people.
Yeah,
and you
'cause you-
kind of soften the blow and segue your way out of it so that everybody doesn't hate you by the end of it. But I think it's just going to be a bunch of blunt talking kids coming through shortly because they don't think anything that's coming out of their mouth is bad, especially when you look online and see the divisiveness that is this COVID scenario too. And they're all sitting in front of laptops. And when a teacher doesn't like what they say, they just mute them. They're not actually being told, or you know what I mean? Like that may be a small fallout from it. I mean, the real fallout is the economy is going to go to shambles. And, you know, as much as I think, so I can't remember his name from that we said 1 in 5 was closing, because he was talking about
Dan Kelly.
Dan Kelly. He was talking about how like we're on the verge of like collapse. I think that's an exaggeration because he's probably trying to drum up some sort of support for his people that he represents, right? Like I don't think we're quite there, but we're not in going like if we keep going down this road, yeah, like it's getting to a point where, like I said, when the money dries up, you're either gonna get those two avenues with like inflation and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer because the working man's money doesn't go as far, and rich people is now all my stuff is worth so much. And or you're gonna get, you know, we keep printing money, handing it out, and inflation eats us alive. Like those are your two avenues where it's like, you know, either the economy, well, you take away the money and there's no jobs to go to, or you keep handing out the money and every job that you have is worth nothing because everything costs so much. That's kind of like what the options are going to be for the leadership groups. We're not in a good spot. Like I know I just heard on the radio the other day, 2,000 business licenses didn't get renewed in Hamilton, Ontario alone last year. So in 2021, they didn't renew. And a lot of them come as no surprise. We're in the restaurant and hair cutting business. Hair salons, barbers, and restaurants were a good chunk of those 2,000.
Yeah.
So where do people go, right? Like,
it's unfortunate because I don't think people. I had this conversation with somebody the other night. It's just like we need people to step up and be willing to lose things now because everybody's so afraid of losing things now that they don't step up, and you're gonna lose it later anyways. Like we're at that breaking point. We're at crossroads. It's like on one side it's gonna be extremely high inflation. Like the road back is steep anyways, extremely steep. Every day that goes by, every week that goes by, it's limiting and narrowing the options to more and more extreme choices, and that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah. So I mean, we need to be mindful as consumers too, to not. It's super easy to throw money at Amazon and all that. Take the time to find someone local that can do it for you. I know a lot of people who watch us are in anti-lockdown groups or in Facebook groups that talk in this similar manner as us in terms of our viewpoints on these things. Utilize those to organize. If it's a localized group, utilize that to, you know, if people have like a cheat day or, you know, once every other week you order in, well, organize that you're all ordering in from this place because you know they're hurting and they've been down for months. Try and do some good as best we can. You know, you don't have to be. I'm not destined to be prime minister and make a massive impact in this world. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much easier for someone like that. But like, you can impact someone's day just by cracking a joke and making them smile. You can impact someone's day positively just by
100%.
ordering food from their restaurant and
100%.
keeping the lights on. Do what you can. We are all not Superman, and we're all not destined to make massive impacts here. and that's
Hey,
okay.
Butterfly
That's okay.
effect. I love that
But
idea.
do what you can, and it does make impacts, and it spreads. So do what you can.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I can't agree with that enough. I mean, people go hit those businesses and ask the question, how are you doing? How are things? How are you holding up? I do it all the time, and I try to get a laugh out of people. And can you be that, a couple of seconds where you took the pressure off and somebody forgot their problems? Who knows what kind of impact that has? Go be that person.
Even just to allow someone to see something through a different lens where they are stressed to the max, and if you crack a joke and they kind of just laugh and go, yeah, maybe I'm making this out to be more serious than it is, and I need to just chill today. I mean, some problems are legitimate problems that,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
there's lots of those occurring these days. I just want to address it here. I see, our community here, I love that everybody here is so supportive. Looking at the comments, a lot of us are going through the same things right now, and you're dealing with it, feeling alone. I don't want to put words in my brother Broderick's mouth, but I know he's been struggling with it too, because it's hard for a young man to be able to go out and do things, and you're not alone. And I hope this is a community where you can feel safe to share and come back. Sunday show is going to be here regularly unless there's footage that we're going out to cover, but Sundays at 3 p.m. Come out, share, and we'll share your comments and we'll talk too. I don't want this to be so news-like and so stringent that people can't feel the community and connect with others. It's important to me that you feel that ability and feel like you can do that here. So I'm sorry that everybody's going through it. I'm looking through these comments, and if you're struggling right now, just keep holding on. I hear you. We're with you.
Yeah, I mean, we're all fighting the good fight, and if we don't got each other, we don't got nothing.
Yep.
At the end of the day, one of my favorite rappers, to be weird for a moment, one of the lines in his song was, "Tell me what you do for love, loyalty, and passion of all the memories you've collected, moments they can never touch." That's the one thing you got. It's your memories. So share them.
Yep. It's time to make memories. It's get off the couch time, and it's time to start making memories. And but get out, talk, share those memories. It's a collection of who we are. Did I lose you? Oh, might have lost him. Well, that's rare. Not going to happen very often, but all right, everyone. I think it's probably a pretty good place to wrap up the show here. I think, again, everybody, thank you for coming out. Got a little bit emotional towards the end here, but it's good to see that our community can come together here. And don't stop sharing. Don't stop reaching out. Please don't shut down. It's tough out there. Lots of us we're all going through it. We're going through it differently, though. I understand that. Just trying not to lash out at each other. And Paul, the laptop died. There you go, everyone. So let's try not to lash out at each other. Let's do the best we can to be supportive and be a community for one another. Thank you, everybody. Craig Staley of Diverge Media. If you can support us, divergemedia.ca. We take donations and we got merch available. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.